three things that I'm going to teach you that if you do these three things, you're going to avoid a lot of pain. If you violate these principles, it's not that you won't be successful, but it's going to be painful at times. All right, guys, today I'm going to talk to you about avoiding pain, or at least a lot of pain, a lot of unnecessary pain when you're building a business. Now, again, as you've heard me say, a lot of people will say, well, I just want to get to the meat. How do I just build a business? We're getting there, right? We're building incrementally, as you've heard in my other videos. And what you need to understand is that this is a process, and that you're baking my biscuits, right? My biscuits call for European butter. We're not baking your recipe. We're doing mine. And I'm trying to help you to avoid some things today. Now, there's three things that I'm going to teach you that if you do these three things, you're going to avoid a lot of pain. If you violate these principles, it's not that you won't be successful, but it's going to be painful at times. Now, do you think I've taken this advice? No, I have not, which is why it becomes advice, right? And so hopefully one of these days, my kids are wanting to start a business just like my dad had hoped for me. And I want these principles. I want them to avoid the unnecessary pain. Number one, okay? Keep your big mouth shut, all right? Everybody, it seems, when they want to start a business, it's exciting. And the whole thought of, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and they tell the world, can create some problems for yourselves, okay? Now, I want you to think about, just put yourself in that position. You may have already told family members, friends and stuff, I'm going to build this business. Why did you tell them that? Think about that. Why did you tell them that? What was your motivation? Was it so that they would look at you a certain way? And think about that. Why, and say you're going to tell, you're talking to your spouse, that's one thing. We're just talking about, I'm going to post it on Facebook. Really? What is it that you hope that they're going to do? Those people are not there to encourage you. And frankly, if you need encouragement and you don't have the ability to self-encourage, you don't need to be trying this. This process is brutal. It's very hard to create a business. And if you need to find a way to be motivated or what have you, you're trying the wrong thing. You need to go do something else. Okay, write this down. Seriously, you need to put this on paper. People can never take you where they've never been. Think about that. If you're asking questions to people, such and you're telling them, I'm gonna start this business, why are you telling them that? Is it really about your ego? Yeah, it's pretty much about your ego. And you saying, well, I'm going to do this thing, and guess what? It feels good right then, but it creates a lot of pressure. All right, so you tell your friends that you went to school with that you're going to start this business, and you boast, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do all that. And a lot of people think, well, that's just going to make me more successful by doing that. Not really. It's just going to put more pressure on you. And so your business is going to take longer to build than you think it's going to take. Period. I don't care if you have a conservative estimation. Whatever you think you can accomplish in the next handful of years, you probably can't accomplish that much. That's the bad news. The good news is that your perception of what you can do over the next 10 years is way low. Right? We way underestimate what we can accomplish in a decade or 15 years or 20 years. You have to have more of a long-term thinking on this. And don't ask people for it. Don't tell people you're going to start a business. Don't ask them for advice unless they can actually be helpful to you. Don't let your ego get in the way. Okay? It's just going to create problems, because then you might not want to go be around those friends because you're embarrassed that your business didn't develop fast as you wanted it to. You don't want that. It's too much pressure. You have enough pressure on yourself. Okay? Don't do that. Number two, do not borrow money from family and friends. Now, this is one, again, you think I followed this advice? Of course I didn't follow this advice. It's a really bad idea to do that, period. I mean, you should avoid that like you avoid the coronavirus. You do not want to borrow money from family and friends. The level of pressure, because again, your business is going to be successful. If you keep doing this, I can virtually guarantee you that if you continue to put in the effort over a long enough period of time, you will be successful. But it's going to take longer than you think it's going to take. And so if you've taken money from family and friends and it's taking longer, they want that money back, right? There's a difference between a gift and an investment. They want to give you some money, great. Now later, we're going to, in a couple of videos, or at least soon, we'll talk about debt. And Debt is something that you have to be very careful about doing in any level of business, but especially if we're talking about and taking money from family and friends. It's a bad idea. You need to try to avoid that. And the third thing is, it can be a little contradictory, but you need to not quit your current job if you have one. Now, a lot of people go, well, how in the world am I going to start a business if I still have this current job? Exactly, right? You need to get creative. All right. And so I'm not saying that it's not going to be necessary at some point, but a lot of people think, ooh, they violate all three. I'm going to borrow money from, my wife's family, and I'm going to tell all my friends I'm going to start this business and I'm going to quit my job, and you're going to go broke, and everyone's going to be pissed off at you. You're not going to be able to go to family events. Your friends aren't going to like you. They're going to make fun of you. You're going to feel totally isolated, and you did that to yourself. That had nothing to do with your business. That had everything to do with your ego. And so check your ego at the door. Nobody cares. And like in business, you have to understand, you're competing against people. Like, you're trying to probably go into an industry to be successful. There's already people that are successful in that industry, right? They're not just going to say, hey, here you go, right? You can have my clients. No, you're going to have to fight. And these people are smart. They're staying up in the middle of the night thinking about how they market and everything. This is not a game. You're competing against people that are the real deal, likely. And I don't care what you're doing. If you're a pressure washer, you're just pressure washing, you're just cleaning stuff, you're a kid, you're cleaning stuff in the neighborhood. There's other businesses that do that. They have employees, they have liability insurance, they have marketing and that you don't have. And so this is not a game. You have to take this seriously, but again, it's going to take time. So don't quit your job if you can avoid it. I like to think of it this way. It's kind of like, I want to be riding a horse, my job. I want to be riding that horse, and I want to coax another horse along. Now, I might at some point have to dive off this horse to the next one, but I damn sure don't want to just stop and then have to get this horse going. This thing needs to be going. And so even if you need to have your website set up, which we'll talk about later, and you need to have phone systems, you need to understand how you're going to market, you have to have your marketing materials, you have to understand who your prospects are, all that kind of stuff, all of that needs to be done before starting a business. Violating these principles to create motivation in you is a bad idea. Again, if you need that for motivation, you're doing the wrong thing. You're not going to be successful. And so that's what I want to encourage you to do to the extent you have the ability to. Sometimes you might not have the ability to, especially on the third one, or maybe to even borrow some money. But understand that if you're doing that, you are signing up for potentially a lot of pain. I don't care how good you think your idea is. And, oh, it's going to work. Yeah, mine too. My ideas were going to work too. I had a huge track history. There's a bunch of them that didn't, and that's okay, right? Embrace it. It's like you're embracing the fact that you're going to fail, and it's okay. You're only a failure if you stop, right? So if you're continually moving along, you're continuing to get better, you're a better person, you're a better human being, you're thinking about your customers, you're thinking about how you can bring them more value, and that's who you're becoming, you're going to be successful. And frankly, as you begin to think that way, I would argue you're already successful. And it's only a matter of time before the money starts showing up. So as you always hear me say, don't be selfish, right? If this is helpful to you, you know that there's not a lot of people out there that have built businesses like I have. And if you haven't heard my story, go listen to the channel video and it'll tell you about that. Don't be selfish. Like the video. What does that do? That means if other people are trying to be encouraged or trying to figure out how to build a business, how to start an online business, they can learn as well. And make sure to comment so that I can understand where your brain is, what you guys are thinking. And so that helps me actually as I develop more content. So I hope you guys have a great day. Be encouraged. You absolutely can do this, right? The process sucks at times. It's okay. And just get that gritty attitude that I'm going to do this because I know for a fact you have the ability to, as long as you're patient with yourself. So have a great day, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.